Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Darth Helios YouTube channel, or welcome to. As we're all aware right now, this Wednesday was the finale of the absolutely fantastic Ahsoka series, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sit here and say it was perfect. It was underwhelming, I would say. Everything was leading up to these massive fights and everything, and then all of a sudden, we didn't really get much of a confrontation between Ahsoka and Thrawn, between Sabine and Thrawn, between any of these characters who have past relationships with Thrawn. We never really got that sort of proper, confrontation that, would have been like gut wrenching. We didn't really get any shocks or twists or turns apart from the very end where Ahsoka and Sabine were left stranded on the island, on the galaxy, as Ezra and Thrawn managed to get back to the known galaxy. So that was a big shock to the system, to us, where we didn't really have the bad guys win. I mean, they got away, but so did Ezra. But neither did the good guys, because only Ezra got away, and Ahsoka and Sabine are now left stranded on this desert island. On this, not desert island, on this galaxy that, nobody can really get to. So I thought that was really cool. Um, Along with, obviously, Balin and Shin. I think Balin's last shot was absolutely perfect. Just the absolute screen presence that Ray Stevenson brought to the role, I thought fit perfectly into that scene and just brought that entire scene to life, really. On standing on the hand of the Mortis god, the father, was a beautiful image and possibly the last ever image we're going to get of Ray Stevenson in anything. So I think that was a beautiful ending for for a life, for a career, and for a character. Because let's face it, he's not. He's probably not going to be coming back because you can't. You can't. And Shin was very much wasn't in this episode, the same as Balin. She wasn't in the episode much, but I don't think that was to a detriment to the episode. I think it was just more of a detriment to the character, because let's just face it, every single time the Dark Jedi are on the screen, they steal it, right? They really do. And so I think it was such a missed opportunity to have, you know, Morgan Elsbeth and the Dark Jedi fighting alongside each other against Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka, which we saw a little bit, like, with the Blade of Talzin, which was really cool, by the way, having that throwback to the Night Sisters of old, and, all of that. That was cool. But what they could have done with it was so much more than what was actually done with it. And I think that, to an extent, has been sort of running through this series as a whole. Like, don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. I loved Anakin coming back. I loved the world between worlds. I loved the tease of the Inquisitor, and then just turning out to be Night System magic. That was ridiculous. Um, but yeah, and the finale. So I think what they could have done with something and what they did do with something being underwhelming has been a running theme throughout this series. But what they did with it was absolutely amazing, and I wouldn't change what they did with anything as a whole, but realistically, I think there was just so much more that could be done, especially with things like the War Between Worlds and with these lightsaber battles and everything. It is the first time in a long, long time that we've seen multiple Jedi or multiple Force users in the same sort of environment. Because the sequels, we only had Rey and Kylo, and then Luke to a lesser extent, and Leia, but whatever. And then we had. So we haven't really. And then we also had Luke in The Mandalorian as well, and Grogu and Ahsoka. But Ahsoka was a very B part of that series, so we're not really going to count that. But this was the first time we had proper, almost teams of Force users against one another, less, more like the days of the Galactic Republic and the Old Republic, rather than the New Republic, which was amazing to see, but that's just my opinion. I think Star Wars is at its peak when there are more than one or more than one person that uses the Force or lightsabers or whatever on either side. You know, like during the Galactic Republic, whereas this the New Republic is getting there with these Jedi academies and everything, but sort of between the First Order, between the Galactic Republic and the New Republic, there was basically nothing. Well, there was the Inquisitors, there's all of that, but realistically, I think the Galactic Republic and the New Republic are this sort of balancing act, really. I think that's amazing going forward with the amount of potential that we have for the Force to come back, for Sith and Jedi to come back, and because realistically, there are going to be people in that academy who are going to go off and do their own thing, right? Not every single person in that academy is going to become a Jedi, which could be a very interesting concept. Maybe it brings back the idea of the grey Jedi, the grey Force users, which would be insane, and yeah, really bring balance, if you will. But I think the series as a whole was amazing. I think going forward, it brings a lot of great possibilities with these, with these academies going through. Perhaps there are more Jedi or Sith or Force users in that galaxy that Ahsoka and Sabine, Baylan and Shin are in right now. Maybe, just maybe, there will be a sort of an academy of its own. Maybe there will be a war of its own. You never know, right? It's an entirely separate galaxy, and quite possibly the potential of it is fantastic to explore new galaxies, to introduce perhaps more characters, and introduce us to more characters, bring more characters back, and all that lovely stuff. So I think this is a massive step in the right direction for Star Wars, whereas having everybody come back and escape would have been a happy ending, but would have been a bit lackluster. It would have been a bit, there wouldn't have been as many twists and turns as there were realistically. So I think what they've done with the series as a whole and what they did with the finale was great. I just think a lot of the stuff you know, that was going on could have been flushed out a lot more, especially with the whole War Between Worlds thing. We had two flashbacks, and Rex had one or two lines and a cameo in the background talking to Anakin. So that could have 100% been flushed out a bit more. Rex could have had a little bit more to do, maybe, and Maybe we'll see more of him in the future. You never know. But I would love to see that reunion, especially since Rex thinks Ahsoka's dead because she was in Rebels. So that would be an amazing reunion to see. But other than that, I think Ahsoka was one of, if not the greatest TV show um, in this Disney era. I think it's better than The Mandalorian. Well, this season is better than any Mandalorian season, I believe, especially the first one. It's 100% miles better than the first series. The second series, maybe. But yeah, I think Ahsoka is the greatest one series thing that that Star Wars has brought to us since the animated stuff, and that is my opinion. But I just love Star Wars when it's when it's got these lightsabers, when it's got these big galactic battles. You know, I enjoy the politics of it all. I enjoy the lore. I enjoy the bounty hunting. I enjoy I really enjoyed Mandalorian and that sort of Star Wars, but I think Star Wars is at its peak when it's. I think Ahsoka was just peak Star Wars. If there was one person that was gonna ask, "What is Star Wars all about?" you would say lightsaber battles, hyperspace, uh, fleets, and good versus bad. And I think Ahsoka pushed that forward much more than any of the other series or any of the movies since Disney's taken over. So I think massive props to the Ahsoka series. Whether this is going to be whether this is going to be like the first and last time I mention it, or whether I'm going to be doing more videos on it as the weeks unfold, and maybe we get some more what are they called more teasers of another series maybe, or a Thrawn series. You never know, but season 2 maybe, or maybe a Thrawn series. So yeah, I think there are definitely ways that they could make this massive for the Star Wars universe. But I think if they just leave it here, I wouldn't be too upset. But the potential is there for massive things in the future. I think that's what Star Wars is all about, having that potential and breaking into it or not, I think. But anyway, let me know what you think about this series in the comments. The Instagram should be up and running in a couple of days, maybe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace.